Companies avoid paying about $4 billion in overtime wages by inventing dubious titles. And the reason they do this is it allows them to get around a federal labor law. It is most often a strategy used by retail and restaurant companies, again, where they have hired hourly workers. Okay, so they're paid by the hour. And this is taking advantage of the Fair Labor Standards Act, which exempts companies from paying overtime wages if the employee is a manager and gets paid a salary above a certain threshold. So here's this law, the Fair Labor Standards Act, and the idea here is if you've got a person in a leadership position where they're going to be called upon to obviously pull a lot more weight, to maybe deal with times of crisis or times of uncertainty. And so the idea is, well, if they're a management position, we're going to protect the company from paying overtime if the manager's got to pull some crazy hours because there's some type of crisis or need that has arisen for them to do so. All right. So I'm not saying the legislation's right or wrong, but that's the heart of the legislation. So companies have figured out a way around. From 2010 to 2018, the researchers found a 485% increase in job postings for salaried employees with dodgy managerial roles, where duties rarely include any actual management. Companies avoided paying overtime on more than 151 million work hours via this practice. That leads, by the way, to that number I led off with, which was $4 billion in unpaid wages. Okay, so this is a big deal. Companies are saving money. They're getting around this deal. So, Harvard Business School professor, researchers at the Harvard Business School said, companies dodge overtime pay despite full knowledge of potential litigation. So they're doing this openly, knowing that they are essentially one employee lawsuit away from having to deal with this. Walmart and J.P. Morgan Chase & Company, just two big-time companies that recently have had to pay millions of dollars in fines and settlements over the years for violating this federal overtime rule. So let's give you an idea of what they're doing. Here are a few suspect job titles that researchers found. One is carpet shampoo manager. Now, understand, the carpet shampoo manager is not managing people. There are no direct reports. So they're not managing anything other than themselves. Carpet shampoo manager. Price scanning coordinator. Again, not coordinating anybody but themselves. But they make it a management position with the title and presumably duping employees into feeling like now they've got themselves a great title. Here's one, guest experience leader. They're not leading anybody. Here's a few more on how these things get confused. The employee is a receptionist, but their title is front desk manager. Who are they managing? Themselves? People who come to the front desk? This is very creative. Front desk clerk is the employee position. The title, Director of First Impressions. Well, that's lovely. This is one of my favorite ones. How about a host or hostess at a restaurant? Oh, no, we're going to call you a guest experience leader. That's fantastic. Who's the team that I'm leading? No one. Okay. A barber. How do we juice up the title of being a barber? We're going to call you a grooming manager. Oh, fantastic. And then a food cart coffee attendant. They're literally running a food cart, but we're going to call them the food cart coffee cart manager because now that allows us to say that they are salaried, even though we're paying them hourly, but it's a salaried title management position, so it's a gray area. Now, why do I highlight this? Two reasons. Number one, all of us humans are susceptible to this type of manipulation. This is working for two reasons. It's working because they are manipulating you into feeling good about a worthless title. It's status. It speaks to who we are. We like being complimented. We like being told that we are now viewed at a higher status. Status speaks to the soul. It speaks to the worst of us. The insecureness that we all share inside. Do I matter? Yes, you do. We're going to call you the head groomer. We're going to call you these ridiculous titles that they make up. They're not paying you more. As a matter of fact, they're paying you less because these titles they aren't just manipulative, they are dishonest. They're manipulating you so they can be dishonest. Those are the two reasons why it works. They manipulate you, you go along with it, and it allows them to be dishonest and not have to pay you overtime. So it works for their bottom line, it works for their spreadsheets, but it's manipulating you. And it's only a matter of time before we all come to the conclusion, oh, wait a second. I just got this new title. I'm doing the exact same thing. Isn't it true? It's like at first it's like, well, all right. And they probably juice the title a little bit, don't you think? Hey, listen, I know that you're a receptionist right now, but we're probably going to be hiring a part-timer in the next, 3-6 months. And so we want to go ahead and give you the title of front desk manager. And you go, oh, yeah, absolutely. Bring in some other gal or some other guy at the reception desk. I'll be their manager. You better believe it. I'm sure there's a raise coming with that. And we'll figure all that out. Yeah. And so they manipulate us, and then we say yes, and then the hire never happens, or the hire happens, and you realize you're not actually managing or leading them at all. Nothing new has happened. But what you didn't realize, because you didn't know, is that you should be getting paid some overtime if you have to pull some extra hours. So you need to be informed. If you're in an hourly position, do your homework. What constitutes overtime? What is the company required to do? Don't just take an hourly position and go, it's just a job. That's why I'm informing you of this. Here's the other thing. Don't just accept a new title and let the feel good allow them to manipulate you. Well, what does that involve? What are the responsibilities? How will I be measured? How much more will I make? Ask questions.